Sills. All right, Steven. Instead of calling it the National Football Show with Big Sills, it should be called the National Shit Talking Show. Maybe that's appropriate there, right, Tone? maybe that's more of a fitting title. The National Shit Talking Show. Will that fit for you, Steven? Maybe it will fit for you guys, man. I appreciate you guys coming aboard. There's so many options out there for you guys to go to, and you choosing us each and every single day. We so love you guys for doing that, and we thank you again for coming aboard with us. Real quick before we get going here, we want to make sure that all of you know that we're giving you an opportunity to win yourself some gift certificates. We are in line now with Hooters, and each and every single week, we are throwing a code word out, giving you an opportunity to win yourself some gift certificates from Hooters, 7 locations in the Northeast area, northeasthooters.com. All you have to do is give us your info, email the show, dansileo@gmail.com, and it puts you in line for us to announce a winner this coming Monday, like Mark and Andy. We've got 2 weeks of winners now. We look so forward to you guys. Throughout the program, 3 hours, you'll see that code word popped up, and all you have to do is send us your email, and we so appreciate it. All right. Thursday night football starts week 3. Tonight, week 3 of the NFL. You know, Doug Peterson said something yesterday, and many of you say this all the time to me as well. Says it's only 2 weeks. And you know what Doug Peterson said? Head coach of the Jags. He's like, yes, it's 2 weeks, but we're just about out of that excuse. He's right. This week, that excuse doesn't count anymore, correct? Right? We're not going to go, it's 2 games, or it's 3. We're now starting to get near the end of the first quarter pole of the season. This thing goes fast. Right? That excuse for the Eagles on Tuesday is not going to fly, correct? That's not going to fly. This is it. You get that whole week of, it's 2 weeks, after Monday night, and really the NFL teams tonight, Sunday, and on Monday night, you don't have that excuse anymore. You don't have it. It's over. So now we're going to start getting into kind of who your identity is and what your identity is. We'll know a little more. Tone's like, right on, man. Right? This is it. You have got to get all your kinks, code word for excuses, out of the dialogue on who you are. This is it. We're going to know. By the way, our friend Anthony Beck, the head football coach of let me get that right, the St. Louis Battlehawks of the XFL, went 7-3. He also does the pre- and post-game show for the New York Jets. Former Jet himself, former Buccaneer. He's down in Tampa all the time. He's been around the Buccaneers, so we'll get his take on the Bucs. And we'll get his take on the Jets since he does pre- and post-game. But he's the general manager and head football coach of the Rock St. Louis Battlehawks. And I think most of you know who Anthony Beck was. Played at West Virginia, a bunch of years in the National Football League. He will talk to us at 5:30 Eastern, and we'll get his take on the Bucs and also the Jets. I'm going to throw a stat at you here about Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott against Arizona this week will play his 100th game. He's never missed. Well, that's not right. He got injured, but every game that he was available for, he's started. 99 games he's been available for, 99 starts. That's pretty impressive. I get a couple of years ago with that injury he had, he missed a boatload of time. I completely, but every game that he's been dressed for, he's played in. It's pretty cool. 99 starts, 99 games. He has 150 passing touchdowns, 25 rushing. What do you make of that? This guy's got 75 touchdowns going into his 100th start. What do you make of that? That's quite a number. I didn't realize this. That's quite a number. What do you make of that? And it's not going to be flowers like you think from me on it. It's not going to be flowers. Mateo goes fool's gold. Phillip Rivers. Pretty damn good for a 4th-round pick. That's a great take, Micah. Okay? But I'm kind of more with Mateo. A little bit. Hey, Turner, it is good. But do you know he's the only quarterback with those numbers in pro football history never to make a conference championship game? This guy's turning out to be the Joel Embiid of the NFL. I mean, you're putting up really good numbers. Like, if you keep trending like this, you're going to be in a conversation at the end of the day where you're going to compile some of the greatest numbers in pro football history. But at the end of the day, dude, your legacy can't be built if you're Dak Prescott in the regular season. It just can't be. I can't take you completely serious until you do something serious. Is that fair? I mean, if Jalen Hurts had never been to a Super Bowl and he had done the same stuff that Dak did to this point in his career, I would be like, you've done nothing significant with your team. If this was tennis or this was professional golf, I would say individual achievement, but this is a team sport. You have got to, in my opinion, impact your team in quality moments and take advantage of moments in your career. Dak has not, man. Hey, I think that last year win against the Buccaneers was a good win, but the Bucs were kind of on flames, weren't they? Dak Prescott had the 49ers. That was a hell of a divisional game. That was a moment he missed. Prescott had a moment right there in that game against San Francisco last year. And you know what he did? He did not take advantage of it. Bro, you've got to win moments like that for people to take you completely serious. Every single one of these quarterbacks that are in the league today, you know, it may be one of the most gifted times I've ever seen in pro football when it comes to quarterbacking. And by the way, I'll tell you something else. Can I tell you why the quarterback position in the NFL and everything else is getting better? You know why? Because teams are able to move off these guys quicker. Here, let me give you one more. If you're the New York Jets and you know Zach Wilson sucks, would you make a run at Kyler Murray? Stick him behind Aaron Rodgers for a year? Wait for him until Rodgers retires? Because personally, the kid's coming out, the Jets are going to draft a quarterback. They're going to draft a quarterback or a left tackle. And because they didn't have to give the Packers the first-round pick, because Rodgers didn't play in 65% of the plays this year because of his injury, they only have to send him a 2. They get a first-rounder next year or in the April draft. Okay? Would you make a run at Kyler Murray? Arizona's moving off of him. They're going to do everything they can to get Caleb Williams or maybe Shedeur Sanders. But Sanders is coming back. He's not going into the draft. He's going to stay with his father and Travis Hunter. They've got some sort of agreement or something. No one's leaving. Okay? But what I'm saying to you is this is a huge year for Dak. Expectation. Look, they're going to be 3-0. They're going to kill Arizona this weekend. Arizona hung around with the Giants for a little bit, had them on a half, all that. I get it. But I think the Cowboys are going to blast that team. And they're going to be 3-0. And you know what? If I'm the Eagles and I'm the Eagle fan base, hey, let them get their cheers in September. Look, I think they're playing well because I think they're playing well on defense. Not necessarily the offensive side of the ball. I think they're good. I think they're efficient. I think they look better with McCarthy being the play caller. All of that is true. All of that is true, but a lot of things have fallen into place for them. Okay? I mean, the Giants really didn't do anything with Barkley in game 1. It sucked. Game 2, they had a headless Jets team with Zach Wilson. We're not really going to be threatened with any of these. See, this is almost a little bit of the start of the Eagles last year because there's really no threats on the Cowboys schedule until you get to San Francisco in a couple weeks. Dak's got to take advantage of this year. He's got to take advantage, dude. You got 150 touchdowns, 25 pass or rushing, and you're going to play in your 100th game and you've never been to a conference final. Bro, I don't know. You've never been to a conference championship game? You've never won a divisional game. Well, shit, dude. That's got to change this year. Or people are going to look at you in your career and do this. You're Tony Romo 2.0. You're just Romo. You put up a lot of numbers, but you're Tony Romo. Shit, Drew Bledsoe won a playoff game. Come on, dog. It's got to be better than this if you're in Dallas with Dak. There was so much pressure on that guy to get that football team to the conference title and win it. And win it. By the way, I saw another quarterback make comments, and he walked back his stuff on management in Chicago's a shit show right now. And it's going to lead to our topic here in a minute. Justin Fields walks back talking shit on the coaches. You know, then I thought it was actually sarcastic. I didn't take it like the normal media meathead did. Hey, if the pass is incomplete, it's my fault. Hey, if there's a fumble, it's my fault. Bro, no one's saying that. No one's saying that. Now you sound stupider. Honestly, those retorts he had were dumber. Okay? Those retorts were dumber. If it's a fumble or an incomplete pass, it's my fault. No one's saying that. You want to know what immaturity looks like? Him in Chicago. He's a bust. Chicago has a bust for a quarterback. Time to move on. Get this. He might be able to turn his career around. I don't like him. How about that? He might be, I don't like him. If he was in my locker room, I wouldn't like him. Okay? I don't like him. Now, let me throw this first topic out at you. How many people believe that the general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles, Howie Roseman, will be the GM of the Philadelphia Eagles after the 2025 season when his contract runs out? By the way, it runs through the 2025 season. Big Sills, would you take Wentz over Murray because of so many characteristic circumstances? At least Wentz was more committed. I would probably take Murray because he's kind of what the NFL is right now. Kayvon says that Howie's not going anywhere, so he's impervious to money. And Chicago, for instance. And he would not open his ears and look to be the highest paid general manager. Maybe somewhere else. Maybe more power. Maybe completely more control. So you think Howie Roseman retires an Eagle? How many people thought Andy Reid would? Geez, if Andy Reid could be moved on and move on. He was fired, albeit. Well, Howie was fired once. So, I mean, you wouldn't listen to say when Jerry Jones passes the baton down. Howie Roseman is showing you how, money-wise, to handle a salary cap. And for the life of me, I don't know why more teams aren't following his pattern by paying the players up front like this. Because I think if you want, how about this? I don't know how many Super Bowls Howie Roseman's going to win, but do you know what I believe about Howie Roseman, the general manager? I do believe the way he does business, he will pretty much always contend for one. I'm not saying that silver medals is something that the fans of Philly are going to settle on. I'm saying he's going to make sure that that team is competitive every year. And the only way that your team is going to be competitive is if you pay the players up front the way the Eagles are doing it now. Look at that cap space that they have on Jalen Hurts' $255 million deal. It is a stroke of genius. If you look all around the league right now, look at even in Kansas City. Kansas City can't pay superstar players top premium money. Why? Because the quarterback's contract is so out of whack, they got lesser talent on it than the first time when he won the Super Bowl. Okay? And if that's me, who wouldn't want to have the Cowboys throw $20 million at me? Or the Patriots? You think Bob Kraft wouldn't throw $20 million at Howie Roseman to come run his team after 2025? Or how about Stan Kroenke, who's got endless money to revamp that football team, get rid of Les Snead and Kevin Demoff? You guys are nuts. This isn't a seat on the Supreme Court. This isn't like a life job. This is not like being the Pope. These aren't generational jobs. Everyone's replaceable, except the owners. Everyone. And I'm not saying they're going to run them out. I'm saying, why wouldn't you listen? Because I love the way it works here? That may be it. Do you think that Jeffrey Lurie, let's just use Jerry Jones. Jerry's like what? It's got to get to a time here when Stephen Jones and the family maybe want to bring someone in after Jerry passes the baton down. Say they offer Howie $25 million. You think the owner of the Eagles will match that for GM? Or because do you think, no, he moved on from Joe Banner. Look at all the general managers that are in the league that have come out of that front office. You know, the owner of the team may think, well, we developed one. We might be able to develop another one. Do you think the owner would pay top dollar and make him the highest paid general manager to keep him in Philly for the rest of his life? Again, it's a conversation. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know either. But if you're Chicago, wouldn't you throw every single dime you had in that franchise at that guy? Wouldn't you give Howie every single bit a say in an organization? And you would know, he'd be like Al Davis. Speaking of that, how about the Raiders offering him that job in Vegas? He wouldn't listen. You think that a guy who's a businessman too, what is he, 48, 49? This guy's a young dude. This guy's 48, 49 years old. He's got a ton of his career ahead of him. Shit, Bill Polian moved on from the Bills to the Colts. It's not uncommon. Scott goes, Howie already. So Howie has complete control of the team, right, Scott? Coaches, assistants, scouting. Because there's some people in here that think that Nick Sirianni's some coach. He's not. He's a babysitter. He's a librarian. Okay, so which is it? Howie has complete control or Nick has some say? Nick has no say, in my opinion. He has no say. The librarian has no say. He's part cheerleader, too. Has no say. Well, according to Arthur, Nick has total say. Well, then why wouldn't he leave, according to Arthur, so I can have total say? We'll take Arthur here. Thank you, Arthur. He says that Nick Sirianni fires and hires coaches. Well, here's a prime example. Arthur just pushed out Howie Roseman to another place because then he could get total control, according to Arthur. Okay? I think Howie finishes in Philly, especially if he can get us another Super Bowl. But if he does it, will it be a lateral move with possible more money? Ace, that's the only way he leaves. He's with more power and with more money. You're the general manager of the Dallas Cowboys. You're going to be a movie star. That's what he wants. He loves it. He loves the attention. How many people really believe Howie Roseman retires a Philadelphia Eagle? How many people believe that? That he has no say or that he will retire an Eagle? Robert says, I do. I just think he takes into account his option, how he's building the team, and Nick walks the sidelines. That's pretty much what he does. So you guys believe that he's going to retire a Philadelphia Eagle. Interesting. At 48 years old, this is his only job. Now, you guys have context to this because he's been in that building since 2000. He's been there 23 years. Let's just do this. What if this year turns out to where they don't meet expectations? Could that change the dynamic? Because this will be, according to you guys, I saw some people say 14-1. If they don't make it to the NFC title game, this will be, as much as last year was a success to some, this will be a complete disaster. Even if you win 14 games, it'll be a complete disaster. Am I right? The way that the fan base and the media have set this up, if they don't make it to the conference title game, will this year be a disaster? Will this be one of Howie's biggest disasters? Yes or no? If this team doesn't make it, Steve, I'm confused with some of you guys. I really am. No? You guys are all over the place. Nicholas says no. So if you don't make it to a conference title game, with all the stuff that we've been saying and all you've been saying, it won't be a disaster. Howie has far exceeded expectations. How? Where? Where? 2017? Okay. That's kind of in your rearview mirror now. You're starting to sound like Cowboy fans. I mean, it's in recent proximity, but you're starting to creep up on Cowboy fans. Well, we won it in 17. Okay. It's 5 years ago. Right? Shit, 6 years ago. We're closing in on almost a decade. I mean, you know, starting to sound like Cowboy fan. Interesting how you look at it. That team doesn't make the NFC title game. You guys think it's still a successful season. Okay. I could have swore I heard you a couple days ago say it's Super Bowl or bust. Now you're saying they don't make it to the conference championship game. Howie has exceeded expectations. I mean, honestly, confused here a little bit. I'm a little confused on your takes. Like Liam just said, it's week 2, bro. Chill. That's what Doug Peterson, I started the show out, dude. You don't have that excuse after Monday night. That's over with. You can't go. It's week 3. Chill. One more game. It's a quarter of the season gone. So, you're right. Liam, next couple days, Liam, you get to use that. After Monday, you don't. You don't get to use that. Then it's over. All right, let's move on to this topic. Do you know who has the third most 3-and-outs in the NFL right now offensively? It's the Eagles. They have the 3 most 3-and-outs offensively in pro football. Do you think when you're Brian Johnson, Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, Jeff Stoutland, do you guys think you should be more focused on passing the ball or more focused on running the ball? What would get this thing kickstarted to where you feel, how about this? I don't really think they're horrible. It just doesn't look good. Dallas looks better. I mean, I have a better feel for Dallas. And see, that's what coordinating is. You guys are right a lot of times about the numbers. Now, Dallas hasn't really had to put themselves in a position in any of the games because their defense has been playing lights out. You know, the Cowboys have no turnovers, and they lead the NFL in turnovers, turnover takeaways, defensively. That's like gangrene stuff. Okay? What are we talking about? They've given up a total of 10 points in 2 games. Okay, again, I mean, small sample size for that number as well. I get that. I feel better about Dallas's offense, though, when I look at Philly's offense. 3rd and 3-and-outs. Passing offense isn't really that hot. Guys complaining. Just doesn't look like in sequence. Then, against the Vikings, they took the ball out of Hurts' hands. They ran the ball. They felt more comfortable. It was the thing to do. Hey, by the way, I want to give this to Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson has to get credit for that. That's an in-game adjustment. Whether you like it or not, they said, well, the Vikings aren't going to stop us running the ball. That's an in-game adjustment. That goes to the coordinator as well. Screw that. We're not throwing the ball. We're going to run it. It's not going to look good. It's not going to have the Christmas balls on it for everyone, because what people look at today, when you start running the ball, they immediately go to and gravitate to the fact you don't have a passing game. It's not really true when you have 2 1,000-yard receivers. Okay, so it's not really true. But that's what people's identity is now. When you talk about Philly, Philly's got to run the ball to win. Now, that's what people say. Do you believe the Eagles have to pass more or run more? If this team's going to be a Super Bowl contender, do you pass more or run more? What would you think? To get this thing, hey, I would take resembling a year ago. You guys want to see more passing, even though your pass blocking and your pass probe. I'm going to tell you something else, too. I don't care what anybody says. Your pass protection from your running backs is weak. They're not very good back there. They're not doing a very good job back there protecting Jalen Hurts. And that's a problem. It's why Penny is a non-factor. He will never see the light of day in situations unless it's an emergency. He's an emergency go-to back. He is nothing in that roster except for, hey, in case something happens like Nick Chubb, and they'll throw his ass out there. For all this superstar talent you guys tell me he has, the Eagles are not comfortable with him pass protecting for Jalen Hurts. That tells you all you need to know about the kid. He's always hurt, and he can't pass protect. And they're not playing him. I told you this. Seals, would you put your house on the line with how you feel on how they are playing, even with every time the chips are on the table? They fold like frauds. The Cowboys, you're talking? I'm not going to believe the Dallas Cowboys until just like the Sixers. I don't believe in the Philadelphia Sixers process, just like I don't believe in the Dallas Cowboys process. I believe it a little more this year. I do. I believe it a little more this year. Okay? Because their defense is better. Hey, Dan Quinn has been since Mike Nolan was the D coordinator in Dallas, that defense has gotten better every year he's been there. Every year Dan Quinn was there so far in Dallas, their defense, would you agree? The addition of Stephon Gilmore has been sensational. And I told you that would happen. Nobody's going to play good in Indianapolis. Nobody. Nobody does play well. Nobody. Nobody plays well in Indianapolis. The owner gets in the way of Chris Ballard, the GM. The whole thing's a train wreck. Both the general manager and the head coach didn't want to get rid of Wentz. Had spectacular numbers in Indianapolis. Had Andrew Luck numbers. Now, Anthony Richardson, we may find out if he's a quarterback. He looks pretty decent so far. Of all the guys they've drafted in the first round this past April, he looks to be the better guy. We'll see. Still a long way to go. Still a long way to go. I think it's an interesting question. So you think throwing the ball more and taking the R out of the RPO and throwing it more is going to help the Eagle offense? That's not who Hurts is. That's been the problem in 2 weeks. Just to show you what you guys know. The problem has been the passing game. And in my opinion, the tentative running game. The best they've looked is the fourth quarter against Minnesota. And the first drive against New England. Other than that, the rest of it has been inconsistent, choppy, shoddy, turnovers, missed opportunities. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. They've been dominant 2 times. 2 times. Opening series against New England, fourth quarter, last 2 drives against Minnesota. That's it. And you could fill in the other 6 quarters and go like this. Inconsistent, choppy, a ton of 3-and-outs, and the numbers dictate the 3-and-outs. You're third in the NFL in the most amount of 3-and-outs. That just tells you right there your inconsistency. That's not an opinion. You have the third most 3-and-outs. And yet people come in here and tell me you're playing well offensively. How do you constitute that? You have nothing to back you up, and your quarterback is 24th in RPO quarterback rating. So, do you run the ball or pass it more? Philip brings a great point up. I agree, Sills, with you. It's too early to judge any team. I think you can judge, though, an approach. Is that fair? How about this? Let's do this. Let's do this here. Do we agree? Okay, let's not judge the team because it's 2 games. How about judging the approach? Are you comfortable with the way they're approaching their offense? Are you comfortable with their approach so far? And when you go like this, 2 games, well, will the approach change? It changed a little bit in the Minnesota game. I think you need to run the ball more. I think you need to unleash Hurts more. This guy's got 60 yards or whatever it is, 70 yards in 2 games. This guy is the guy that scares people. Jalen's not scared. You know what scares Jalen? You know what scares coordinators about Hurts? Tell you what it is. It's a little Steve Young effect. Hurts gets going out in that perimeter and he's running for the sticks. I don't think he's running for the sticks. I think he's running to a spot, getting down, preserving for the next play. And I get it. I get it. I want him to play the next play, okay? I totally understand it, but he's not running to the sticks. He's running to a spot to get down, not take as much contact like he did a year ago. Totally get it. But it's made the running game and his effectiveness in his passing game, and I think that's affected his passing game. Here's when Hurts is at his best. 78 rushing yards, 250 passing. There's no way you can defend that. There's no way you can defend that. Because he makes plays off of his threat in the run game. They're not threatened by him right now. Because they're kind of holding that back. He's not running to the sticks. You see it every time he takes off. Even when they figure out that counter trade play, when he goes backside, he's getting down now. And I think that's really what it's happened here. Coordinators are lining 5 in the box back there. And that's why you need to run the ball more. If you're going to play 5 in the box, do you know what that means? Because Brian Flores did it. Brian Flores did it. You know what 5 in the box means? So they bring down everyone and put 5 in the box. Do you know that means this? There's no second tier defender behind it. Because once you get beyond it, it's over. Then you're chasing. So if they get through that first initial line of scrimmage, there's no defending the run game. They're not fearing the passing game right now. Because the run game, and you guys go like this, well, Silsey ran for 250 yards against the Vikings. That's because they started chewing up the yardage at the beginning of the 3rd and 4th quarter, and went into the 4th quarter, and they started taking full advantage of that. Total advantage. Dude, the first 2 teams have shut your passing game down. They have, and that's why your guys are complaining. They've shut you down. So, run the ball. Hey, let me see. Now, the Bucs, this is going to be a test because the Bucs have the kryptonite to beat you. They can stop the run. New England stopped you. They can stop the run and they can cover the pass. If that offense for the Eagles hasn't figured it out against the Bucs, they'll lose that game Monday night. I'll tell you this. That Buccaneer defense is almost as talented as your offense. Their secondary is spectacular. Linebackers are some of the best in the league. They got an inside force that's one of the better guys next to Quentin Williams. Shaq Barrett's back to being Shaq Barrett like he was a couple of years ago when he was getting home. Guy goes, we're 2-0. So are they. So are they. And Baker Mayfield is playing better. I'm going to make a point to you about Baker Mayfield. I don't know if you guys agree with this. But when I look at Baker Mayfield right now, I do this. Boy, how come I like Baker Mayfield more in Tampa than I did in Cleveland? 69% completion percentage. He's not being asked to do a ton. He's got some really great wideouts that go get the football. Mike Evans is just telling him, throw it, I'll get it. And against the Eagles, no one's covering Mike Evans. You're going to have to do what Tone says. You're going to have to contain this guy and make those numbers not mean anything when it comes to the scoreboard. You can do that. Okay? The difference is that those first two quarterbacks that you've played, their numbers kept them in the game. You have had to play 60 minutes of football in your first two football games. The Cowboys really haven't. Okay? You've had to play 60. Both teams that you played had a chance to win the game. You're not dominating. And again, when you go back and watch the Bucs, I've been shocked. I've been shocked at their play, especially front seven-wise. I've been shocked. And against that team, I think Jalen Hurts and the Eagles are going to have to establish a running game to beat them. To beat that defense. I don't know yet about winning the game for the Bucs. I'm saying you're going to have to get a – New England shut you down. Scored 18 points against them. He scored 18 offensive points. And New England is nowhere near the talent that Dallas or Tampa is. They're nowhere near. They're a better group. They got better players pretty much at almost every position outside of edge, I would think. Their corners are better. Backers are better. They got a better interior defensive line. Five-Star doesn't think that the Patriots beat the Eagle offensive line. They did. They did. That's not a debate. They did. And they held you off the scoreboard. Todd Bowles is a good D coordinator as well. Scott goes, the Pats shut down Miami. Okay. And the Buccaneers are averaging 17. They're surrendering 17 points a game. You're basically answering your own. These are good teams. So to go with Scott's philosophy, well, New England shut down Miami too. Right. You're playing against another team that's a lot like New England. Okay? On Monday night. Don't assume you're putting 45 on them. You couldn't on New England, and you're not on the Bucs. Thanks, Scott. You're right. You're playing another good unit with another good coordinator. Shit, you played a shitty unit with a really good coordinator, and Flores had almost lost. What do you think's going to happen on Monday with that group? The Bucs are like a top 5 defense. New England's probably in there somewhere, top 10. The Bucs have a top 5 defense. Bucs defense did not struggle. Okay? Hey, by the way, the Bucs defense struggled against Minnesota. And you're trying to tell me your defense didn't suck against them? Matthew Stafford threw for 4 touchdowns. 350 yards. You guys got to common opponent. I agree. Get this, the Bucs had very little offense in that game against Minnesota. And I don't think their offense is very good. I do not believe the Bucs have a great offense. I think Mayfield is the reason they're winning on offense with Mike Evans. They're not very good. I think they had 245 yards of total offense and still won on the road. Jalen Hurts is number 2 against the blitz. Yeah, he's 24th in QBR, too. Todd Bowles loves the blitz. I can't wait to see how many we managed in game on Monday. I personally, when I look at Jalen Hurts against the blitz, then why has he been sacked 7 times? He's second against the blitz, and yet the offense is given 7 sacks up in 2 games. You're almost averaging 4 sacks a game against. And he's what now? Second and against the blitz? And yet your quarterback has been sacked 7 times and hit more now than last year. Okay. Okay. I don't see that. He's second against the blitz, and yet you surrendered almost 8 sacks, which is 4 a game. Okay. Yeah. Sounds, yeah. Okay. Because the OC has had a bad game plan. Correct. They got this guy not running. Who do you, right now, after the first 8 quarters of football, who's the one guy you fear right now in your offense? I don't feel Goddard. Swift? Gainwell? It ain't AJ. He has done nothing. Devontae, probably. I think Devontae, you know what? You know what's crazy? This thing has been a little up and down. Devontae continues to get better. Swift, he's the 4th option. Devontae Smith's getting better. Hey, by the way, real quick, who is this guy? Puka Nacua. Am I saying his name right? Who is this guy? Puka Nacua for the Rams. I mean, the Rams are going to play the Bucks, or they're going to play the Eagles, right? So this guy has more catches and more yards in his first 2 starts than any wide receiver in pro football history. He's got 25 catches, 266, and they're getting cut back. I think, am I right when I say this? This guy was at BYU. BYU or Utah? Am I right when I say that? BYU or Utah, he was somewhere in there. Okay? He may have played with Zach Wilson. Dude, I watched a little bit of him on tape today. So when they get Cooper Kupp back, that's going to be around the time that the Eagles play that team. I don't know. I'll tell you, you got this kid on one end and you got Cooper Kupp on the other end. That's going to be an interesting thing against the shitty secondary of the Eagles. You're going to play some good football passing teams this year that are going to threaten you big time. I don't know if they're good enough to beat, because I don't know who the run game is in Los Angeles with the Rams. I don't know. I don't know if they just traded Akers to Minnesota also. How about Minnesota's fumbling of the running back position? You had Dalvin Cook. Now you're scrambling. Okay? Really, man, this kid's off to a fabulous start. 25 catches. He's got the most catches of any wide receiver in pro football history to start a career, and yards. And then on top of that, you're going to get Kupp back, and you're going to have those 2 guys in the passing game for the Rams. I'll tell you, the Rams, I thought would be one of the worst teams in the league. They may just actually turn out because of the coaching. Sean McVay's a spectacular coach, and he's a spectacular play-calling coach. Isn't it crazy? I think that guy's been in the league now, 8 years? And he's still the youngest coach in the – you want to hear an incredible stat about Sean McVay? Tone, maybe you fact check this. He's been in the league like 9 years, 8 years, and he's still the youngest coach in the NFL. I mean, The guy's still the youngest coach in the NFL, Sean McVay. The guy can coach. He can coach his ass off. For me, let's see what he's still the youngest coach in the NFL, McVay. That's insanity. Okay? That's insanity. JM says Sills ranked Stafford number 11. I did. Yeah, I did. Coming off of what he did a year ago, you go back and start watching, he looks better. Do you agree with me at least? Run the ball more. And run it with Hurts. Why are you establishing Gainwell? Establish Jalen in the run game. I fear that more. And you know what, too? Sometimes it could just be impression. If Jalen Hurts has 5 carries, if I'm a defensive coordinator, okay? If I'm a D coordinator and I see Jalen Hurts in the first half with 6 carries and he's averaging 5.5 yards a carry, I'm going to do this. Shit, man. Hey, keep an eye on this guy. And you know what that does too? It opens up your passing game because they have to bring those guys up to spy on him. And then you have a zone wide open. That's the difference in the passing game. Those guys aren't as wide open as they were a year ago because they're putting everybody back because they're not fearing Hurts running. You see it on film. You see Hurts is apprehensive running on film. When you watch the first 2 games, see, again, I get what you're saying. Says it's 2 weeks. But it's still 2 weeks of the same approach. Is that something you're going to continue throughout the season? Is that something you're going to go through the season with? Okay? Run with Swift? I want Jalen running. Why are you taking the most effective part of your offense last year out of this year's offense? Jalen Hurts' running last year was the most effective part of the game, not his passing. Why are you looking at like that? You're not like every other team in the NFL that wants to throw the ball 38 times a game. You are not that team. Even the fan base fights it. Even the fan base fights it. Tone says something all the time. Who gives a shit how it looks? This is not a beauty pageant like college, where there's an actual ranking that matters on who gets to the Final Four. Those teams are picked. Do you actually think that those 4 teams that go to the College Football National Championship playoffs, do you really think they played themselves into those playoffs? They're picked. They look at the record. A guy has an opinion over this team, and they pick you. The NFL, you've got to play yourself into this stuff. You get picked. The 5th best team in the Southeastern Conference could beat the number 1 team in the Big 12. But they're at home. Because why? They don't have a better record. Your record matters in college. Your record doesn't matter in the pros. Because the only thing that matters is home field advantage, a division title, and playoffs. Whether you're 12 or 14 or 13 or 9, it has no bearing. It has no bearing. Well, the record for home field does, because you want to have the home field advantage. Absolutely. You should say you want home field. Okay? That, to me, you got to run Jalen Hurts more here. You go back. I took out the first drive in New England and the last quarter against Minnesota. and I didn't recognize the Eagle offense. You want to hear something? I think there's a better chance, obviously, of turning around the offense. The defense has a ton of problems. That thing is, I mean, you right now, if you're going across the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, you got one lane, and the rest of it is under construction. The entire defense is under construction, except for one lane, your DTs. The rest of it is under construction. You're in a one lane, and that thing is going to go slow. Traffic hasn't stopped just yet on defense, but just look at the guys you're bringing in just to take a look at. You're not going to find anyone. You're not going to find unless you're going to make a trade. And everyone's going to know then that the Eagles are desperate for linebackers and safeties and maybe some depth at corner. Okay? You have vet corners that aren't playing well. You're second to last, Keon, in pass defense. Now, Bradbury not being there, absolutely an issue. But your safeties can't cover, nor can your linebackers. That's why you're 31st. And people like Mac Jones, who think in Vegas could actually be a guy that could lose his starting gig, that's not somebody I'm hanging my hat on who threw for 350 yards on you. Okay? I mean, this Buck team is going to be well prepared. They completely hey, how many yards do I see the Eagles with the way they're playing right now against that Buck team? How many yards could Mayfield throw for? He could put up 350 on you. The problem will be running. The problem will be running the ball. Because, again, the really great advantage. Now, New England was, see, I don't think people are giving the Eagle defense and the tackles enough credit because I think New England can run the ball. I do not believe Minnesota can run the ball. Minnesota just made a trade for Cam Akers. They know they can't run, so that's why they made the move for it. Baker 350 on us. Mac Jones 350 on you. Mac Jones? Baker Mayfield's playing better than Mac Jones. And like I said, he's playing better. Baker's trash. Okay. Could this be the next Geno Smith? Why couldn't it be? Guy goes to a better environment. Guy goes to environment. Hey, the Bucs have actually won Super Bowls. Have they not? Cleveland's never. Cleveland's never been to a Super Bowl. The Bucs have actually won Super Bowls. And it's an organization that has at least won. Jason Light's a good general manager, too. Okay, I'm just saying, how do you know it's not what, like, Geno did by going to Seattle? They've been to Super Bowls in Seattle. Pete Carroll. Mac Jones is better than Baker. Probably. Right now? Probably. Yeah. Mac Jones, though, is having a turnaround type of season in my eyes because they brought Bill O'Brien in. This is the fourth franchise Baker's been with in 3 years. So what? Rich Gannon went to 7 and then won an MVP with the Raiders. What's your point? Jim Plunkett went to 5. Let's see. Patriots, 49ers. Then he got to the Raiders and won 2 Super Bowls. What's your point? Geno's been to like what? 5? Right? I don't think he's going to win a Super Bowl up there either, Anthony, but he has kind of turned it around, has he not? I'm not saying Baker Mayfield's going to win a Super Bowl for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's not what I'm – if you thought I said that, I didn't say he's going to win a Super Bowl. I'll tell you what, the more they win, though, the less chance they have of drafting a quarterback, because I personally think that Jason Light, the general managers, and the Glazers were probably looking at it like this. Well, we're going to suck. Shit, I was talking about selling some of the players off as we get closer to the trading deadline. And by the way, so did the Bucs. Am I right, Tone? Didn't the Bucs inform Mike Evans that they will not be picking up his contract at the end of the year? They basically told the Hall of Fame wide receiver, your services are no longer needed here. Can you imagine that? And he's averaging 120 yards a game. And the Buccaneers informed him. They informed him, your services are no longer needed here. That's crazy. I'll tell you what, they may want to revamp that. Because if they win some big games there, they may want him back and move off of Godwin. Bruce Arians did a great job with Kurt Warner in Arizona. Correct. And when Bruce was on here, he absolutely was just giving great endorsements to what Baker and what the team likes him. The team likes him a lot. Okay? Still sounds like James Jones saying Justin Fields is better than Jalen Hurts. Who did I say was better than Jalen Hurts? When was that conversation? When did I say that? Justin Fields is a bust. Jalen Hurts is a $50 million a year quarterback that you're paying. There's a difference. Okay? I said Baker's what? Better than Jalen Hurts? I said that? I said he's playing better in his offense than Hurts is in his right now. I did say that, yes. I did say that. I don't think that's a reach. All right, 40th anniversary. I want to tell all our good friends about our friends at Hooters. We're going to be in town next week, believe it or not. King of Prussia. Can't wait to see many of you guys. I want you to come up there, crack a cold one with us. We're going to be in town next week, man. We look forward to seeing each and every single one of you there. Do me a favor. Go to northeasthooters.com. Hey, Hooters and football. That's what this fall is all about, too. 40th anniversary. Every single one of the 7 locations, you're going to get an opportunity to go in and experience what I've known for over 40 years, plus the iconic Hooter girls. Listen, if you don't want to go into the places like tonight, you want to grab the food and take it home, HootersToGo.com is also your place to go. Some of the great specials. Buy 10 wings, you get 10 boneless free. Wing Wednesdays, 1983, the year the place was founded, actually. All you can eat. Kids eat free on Saturdays. 6 items, $6. All the happy hour specials. Go to northeasthooters.com and experience what I've been talking about to find that location nearest you. When you go into any one of the Hooters, do me a favor. You tell them Big Sil sent you.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.